Let's take a step back and ask, why are we creating a data figure? The likely answer is, ultimately, you want to disseminate your findings to others, and part of the challenge is ensuring your end user understands your message. This may mean creating different visuals for different audiences, just as it makes sense to use certain vocabulary when speaking with a middle schooler versus an adult. In this example, we're showing how much glacial ice we've lost in the last half-century. We've chosen to style the graph with the image of a glacier, and the caption reads like a newspaper headline. From the perspective of an academic, you may say that this image is gimmicky, and you would be correct. At least, you'd be correct if designing for academics. But this design may very well be justified for a lay audience. Your communication objective for such a user may be enticing, inspiring, and capturing their attention. You may also want to provide whimsy and levity to an otherwise serious and depressing topic. And you may be primarily concerned about providing larger context and trends as opposed to bogging them down with numeric details. So in this situation, there may be nothing wrong with the design at all. For a more serious crowd, of course, we would want to remove the caption and the glacier. Such an audience would generally only be interested in the raw facts. They're not going to be interested in analogies or context. They simply want to see the data and then move on. For the next example, we have a bunch of statistics about the distribution of blood types in the US. And here we're challenged to cater to an audience of casual readers of a newspaper editorial. In broad terms, we would probably want to create something that's enticing and engaging visually, that will better help them conceptualize the quantities we're discussing. To keep things simple, and assuming it's not absolutely crucial to the story we're writing, we might want to omit the data of negative versus positive blood types. But then, what if we want to repurpose this graphic for a group of healthcare students? Well, we can expect them to have a greater knowledge base, so here we can reintroduce the positive and negative subtypes. We can also include an extra layer of information about the population within the circles, because we know the audience has the capacity to handle this new density of information. And in full circle, let's again consider the expert audience. How would we repurpose this graphic for them? Perhaps we simply want to revert back to our first chart. We have the numbers and it's well organized. So is there a benefit to visualizing these numbers graphically? Well, you'd be on the right track if your train of thought brought you to ask how the data will be used. Are the experts going to be comparing the distribution of other countries? Or perhaps we're about to dive down into ethnic groups and how those subpopulations contribute to the overall distribution in the states. If you're asking these questions, then you're no longer simply concerned about how the design is being driven by the end user. We're now also considering how the content or message itself is changing our communication priorities. And this brings us to the next chapter, where we will see how our design decisions may be driven by the type of message we're trying to convey.